Guys, welcome back to Vince Bale Custom. So today I'm sharing with you a Sideshow Collectibles Blackcap legendary scale bust that was converted into a Scarlet Witch. There's going to be right off the bat a little bit of illusion with her eyes because we did white pupils with red, on the outside of the eye. It may give you the illusion that she's looking this way, but that's just because we're so used to seeing pupils colored in the white of your eyes. But since we did it opposite, it sort of gives an illusion. But when we get in a little bit closer, you'll kind of see what's going on. So I just kind of wanted to get that right off the bat. You can kind of see when you get in closer, you can see the difference. But when you look far away, it sort of looks like she's looking the other way, which is almost kind of cool though. When you turn her this way, it almost gives the illusion like she's looking, but when you turn her that way, you can see it. So a little bit of a thing I just want to kind of just explain in the beginning. But other than that, this is a fun custom. Now, these legendary scale busts, I really do like them. I wish Sideshow would bring them back because I like the scale on them. I like the design. And if they made my favorite characters, it would be good to just have like one or two of my favorite characters in the scale. But sadly, they only did so many of them. So every once in a while, people do ask me to take one of these and convert them into another character. Even though you sort of, they are kind of the same looking item, and you might have different versions of them. It still works though. You can still really build a nice little collection off of this item. So they had the Black Cat, they have the Emma Frost, and they have the Mystique, the females. They also do have the Spider Woman, but the Spider Woman doesn't have sculpted eyes, so it's kind of tricky to use that one. But then they have a lot of the other characters where they have like Magneto, Daredevil, Spider-Man, I don't know, I forget the other ones. So most of the time I just work on the female ones. I've done a few in the past. So this one was for someone that I've done the Domino in the past for. She wanted to get Scarlet Witch in her collection. So we did a little bit more of the modern version of Scarlet Witch, which is kind of cool. So we'll go over it a little bit, and you can see in the beginning of the video how everything worked. So with Black Cat, this is kind of one of the second times I really had to chop up a lot of stuff. I think, yeah, didn't I make a Captain Marvel for myself off Black Cat? Yeah, I did a long time ago. But you can see here, basically, once you get off the fur and the outfit, with the collar part, I had to kind of rebuild a lot of that. I had to kind of clean up all this stuff and rebuild around there. And then from there, what we did is I worked out this part here, which is kind of like, I don't know what you would really call it. It's kind of like the corset, but this part is kind of like almost like a leather textured or rubber. I'm not really sure kind of what it would be called, but we followed this design of her, and then what I did is I did this part over here, and I sculpted out, well, I kind of etched out the like runes. We try to follow one of the statue sculpts as best as possible from one of the other companies. And then over here would be like the silky part. So it's kind of like this part here is kind of the harder part of the corset, which is kind of like the rubber or leather. This is kind of like the main part of it. And then over here would be like the silk. So I kind of tried to break these up as best as possible. Now, as far as the cape goes, we had to come up with a little bit of a design with the cape. She wanted to keep it, simple, but kind of design it in a way where it works. Now, we're dealing with an LSB here, and, if you go really elaborate, you kind of start taking away from the sculpt of her. So we had to simplify it, because if you look at it, the way these LSBs are, it's like the head is sculpted one way, and then the shoulders and stuff are sort of, shrunk down a little bit, and then when you get in the chest area, it's shrunk down. So it kind of shrinks down into a point, so it's not really, I wouldn't say perfectly in scale, but it kind of works pretty cool, almost in scale. So what I did is I sculpted these parts around here, and then what I did is I brought this collar part around here because it wouldn't just be coming down here, it would kind of hold over the edge of it. And then what we did is made like a little bit of a clasp with a rope, and then we put the brooch here because she has this like, Scarlet Witch brooch type design. It's kind of almost like her, I would say her mask, almost like, So I sculpted that from scratch. It was a little bit tricky. Had to kind of get in there, fine tune to add some stuff. But once I pretty much worked it out, I just glued it in at the end. I would have done a magnet to it, but sadly, if I put a magnet in there and you kind of pull this off, you might scrape it a lot. And then the other thing too is it actually might snap. So I figured just kind of glue it in at the end, and it worked out pretty well. Now, this is where the 3D printing comes into effect. Her mask. Now, it's really becoming a little bit easier to do these customs now, where you can actually find a mask or an item in 3D printed out, which is kind of cool. But still, there is a scaling issue. So I contacted Raz from my streams. He does a lot of 3D printing, so I contacted him and say, hey, would you like to do this? So he did do 2 masks. The bigger one is in the other room. You pretty much probably saw it in the picture in the beginning, but this was a smaller one. So what I did is I put a piece of paper over her face, and what I did is I kind of like drew it out to see what we can do with the mask. And what he did as best as he could, he tried to scale it. So the first one that he printed was kind of like matching my piece of paper, and then I said, all right, go down smaller just in case, and actually the smaller one worked out absolutely perfect. So after I chopped down her hair and everything up in front, because it was kind of hollow up in here, and I kind of filled all that in, I added the mask, and then what I did is I resculpted the front of the hair. So I wanted to give her a nice kind of like bangs coming over the mask without going crazy, and sort of try to follow the whole entire hair sculpt, because, you know, the way they sculpted her hair was kind of a little bit tricky in the front. But I really didn't have to touch much of the back or anything, because they did a really good job with the hair and it works with her. I just had to clean up underneath in here and stuff from the collar and everything under there. Now, one thing I did do with her too is before I painted, the very first thing I think it was, is I gave her eyelashes. What Sideshow didn't do is they didn't sculpt any eyelashes on her. They were just very flat. So what I did is I sculpted out the eyelashes just to make it easier. I learned this from the past LSBs I did. It's easier to sculpt in those eyelashes and then paint them and make them look better than to just paint like a line. And then what I did is I did a little bit of eyebrows with some A's, and I kind of worked out that and everything. And it came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Now, as far as the paintwork goes, you know, I'm just trying to find new ways of painting skin tones. Just trying to, you know, come up with different stuff. So this went pretty well. She didn't want to go crazy with the lipstick, so it's kind of more of a natural lipstick. So I did some pastels on the lips, and then at the end I did a sort of a satin gloss after I flattened out the skin. For her mask, it is a Spaztec red paint that I pretty much just did straight from Spaztec spray can. See, the way it is we wanted to break up all these reds. We didn't want every single red to be the same. So you have to try to break everything up the best you can. So this red on her chest is a Citadel red with a little bit of shade in there. Not much, but if you look closely, there's a little bit of shading here. I did some line work. And then this is a metallic-y pearlized red here. And then for her cape, it is a, you know, a sponged red with mahogany to make it look like a leather cape. And then her brooch is a Spaztec chrome metallic paint with a candy coat of red on top of it from Spaztec. And then this is just Spaztec's basic red paint out of a can. I forget the name of the number of the its stuff. And then I did a wash of like a sort of a purplish pearlized paint I had in a bottle and in the inside of the mask just to break it up more. And then from there, the hair is basically a brown with a lot of highlights and stuff, so hopefully you can kind of see that just to break it up. Now, I know from the movie, or from what she told me, is that when Scarlet Witch gets angrier, I guess the hair turns a little bit more red. I'm not really sure, but some people draw her redhead or really dark red, and other people do brown. So we went with this to break it up, because if she had a lot of red in the hair with the red mask, the red cape, the red outfit, you would kind of lose a lot. So that's kind of what we did. And then going back to the eyes, you know, you can see what we did is pearlized eyes, white pupils to make them look glowing. Because, you know, when you do 2D artwork, you can make the eyes look really cool looking, because you can, you know, glows, and you can make it like blend over the skin and stuff. With a 3D sculpt, it's kind of hard to do that, and she didn't want any of that glowing on the skin. She wanted just to keep the eyes like this. So it works out pretty well. Pretty happy with the way this turned out. I think what it is the 3D printing with the mask made it come together easier. It's like I said, even though you're not sculpting it from scratch, you're still doing all that work of scaling, making sure it works and stuff like that. So just to give you guys an idea, this mask is actually a cosplay mask. So if you go onto these 3D sites like CG Trader, they have a lot of masks that you can print for, you know, cosplay. So what we did is we found one we liked and we just shrunk it down. So that's the cool thing about 3D sculpting. Just because it's like intended for cosplay or it's intended for a life-size scale thing doesn't mean you can't shrink it down. And if it is smaller, you can blow it up to make it bigger. You might lose some detail depending on how well it's sculpted, but that's pretty much the way it is. So all in all, this was a fun sculpt. I'm really happy the way she came out. This was a very, very peaceful sculpt, I would say. I was going through a lot of stuff, personal stuff over the past month, so anytime I had a chance to get home and actually work on stuff, this was actually a fun project to kind of work on because it's larger. Smaller stuff takes a little bit more focus and time to really get in there and stuff, but with a larger item like this, it's a little bit easier to kind of put it in front of me and say, okay, I can work on this cape because it's bigger and I don't have to go crazy like trying to do it smaller details and stuff. So it worked out pretty well. So I think the only other thing I could say is with these LSBs down the line, like you're only limited to like 3 of the females, basically, like I said. So like if I do any more for this client or I do anyone for anyone else, there is the possibilities of starting to tweak the faces a little bit more. So maybe next time if I do one, I can maybe tweak out the nose. Maybe I could try to resculpt the nose a little bit and sand it down. Maybe, you know, if somebody really wanted to go crazy, which it's a lot more work though, you can actually break the head and sort of twist it a bit, or if you wanted to twist the head more this way. So there is options of doing stuff, but like I say, it's very, it's a lot more work to go that route. But like I said, yeah, maybe next time if I do any of these for anyone and they want to take it a little bit extra step further and they want to put a little bit more effort into it and stuff, you can always try and tweak the noses and stuff and make it go from there. You know, I'm not really great with sculpting facial features. I probably could tweak the nose a little bit. And like I said, I can add the eyes and stuff and eyebrows and stuff like that. But as far as like the mouth goes, it's probably not my strong suit. But you never know. Maybe down the line we'll do some stuff. But there you go. That is the Black Cat transformed into Scarlet Witch. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like it? Do you want to see more of these? Hopefully, you know, I got a couple other ones I might be doing for another friend of mine down the line, so we'll see how those turn out maybe later in the year or next year. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.